It's 1944, and the British Army leap into one of the most heroic but disastrous battles of the war.
We put 35,000 men into Arnhem in a few days. The place was littered with gliders and parachutes.
Now, 80 years later, a veteran of the ill-fated Arnhem landings is taking off on a mission.
We're on our way over to Arnhem, about an hour and a half flight from North Wales.
To pay tribute to the men who died trying to take the Rhine crossing, immortalised as a bridge too far.
It's quite emotional actually, it's big. Yeah, and actually see it.
This C-47 transport plane still bears the scars of the battle.
The aircraft, I believe, has got 43 wounds.
Now its modern crew must nurse it through a punishing schedule of flights. Saluting the paratroopers who freed the Netherlands from Hitler's Nazis.
To witness this today is the most emotional thing I think I have ever experienced in my life.
Yeah, OK.
There we are, we're flying out over Clacton. Nice, glorious day. All of a sudden, seatbelt right up our air intake. Eject, eject.
It's a passenger safety demonstration unlike any other. Chris Brown's wife has signed him up for a jet warplane ride.
I'm quite tempted to run away and hide somewhere for 15 minutes, but yeah, I'm sure he'll love it.
You all set then, Chris?
Yeah, all good.
Let's do it, shall we?
Yeah, definitely.
Chris is flying with Aero Legends, a company dedicated to keeping old warplanes in the sky.
Squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. There's 4G and relax.
Pull up to 4G with passengers and we teach them how to do the anti-G straining manoeuvre so they don't grey out or black out. And everyone comes back with a huge grin on their face.
Full aileron, right over. And round we go.
Absolutely great experience. Feeling the G's, negative G's and positive G's. That's a good experience to have. And the aeroplane itself is just unbelievably responsive for the age of the aeroplane and what it does.
North Weald Airfield in Essex is home to a small air force of historic planes, owned or operated by Keith Perkins, entrepreneur and aviation fanatic.
Yeah, a bit of a hobby gone mad. We've got everything in the sort of lineup from Tiger Moths right through to ex-military jets and Spitfires. So, you know, we operate passenger rides in all of those aircraft, and we see a number of customers coming initially for a Tiger Moth flight, then going to Harvard, then into a Spitfire, and a lot of the first year customers for the jets were ex-Spitfire customers. So, you know, it's pleasing for me to see people coming back for their second, third, fourth, fifth flight in their chosen aircraft. In fact, I was with one of our customers yesterday who's back for his 11th Spitfire flight with us.
So Tiger Moth was a basic training aircraft. Most of the pilots in the war certainly learnt on this aircraft originally, then progressed on to the Harvard and then progressed on to Spitfire or something like that.
It's Chief Engineer Howard Wade's job to keep them flying and to restore more relics.
We're trying to get this one ready for next year.
The range of Keith's collection means his engineers must master everything from pre-war biplanes to Cold War trainers.
Got a Yak 52 that's got a pneumatic system that operates the brakes, and it's got a leak.
So I'm a committed petrol head, I'd say. Big passion of motorcycles, cars, aircraft, and you know, I spent 5 years racing superbikes in Asia, loved it. But if you're into petrol-driven machines, then it's easy to see the connection between bike, car, aircraft. And I have a passion for World War II as well. 1930s, 40s stuff. You know, it's the sort of halcyon days of aviation.
Rebuilt a few aircraft and fabricked a few now, so yeah, I do like that.
That passion means jet-age engineers have to go back to basics.
On a day-to-day basis, what you find is that your two basic tool that is very needed is a Phillips screwdriver and a flat point screwdriver. You have those, you can do really remarkable stuff.
But if you work like cargo airline or something like that, you almost know what you're going to do every day. And you don't always know what you're going to walk into, particularly with like the Aero Legends fleet, because they'll be flying and then something goes wrong, so you can come in on a Monday morning and it's just different, it's interesting. There isn't the monotony, I think.
Aero Legends pilots too face unusual challenges. Today, Andrew Dixon must conduct a test flight on a 1950s RAF trainer.
We're going to do the first flight on the aircraft after some 5 years now on the ground, because unfortunately we've had to replace the propeller with a different one.
As far as I'm aware, that is the last surviving airworthy example.
Andrew relies on 40 years of experience flying outdated planes to identify faults in the Percival Prentice before it joins the company fleet.
At the moment, we're not achieving the maximum RPM that we would expect. But as far as the general handling, the stalling, aircraft systems and everything, you know, it's as though it last flew yesterday rather than 5 years ago.
It's nice to see it back in the air. It's the only one flying now. It's a piece of British history, so it's nice to see it back where it belongs.
It needs flying. It needs flying, doesn't it? It needs to. So I would suggest, if you get the opportunity before, we're not going to be anything before Arnhem, are you? Okay, I suggest we do a couple more shakedowns.
Andrew's next mission is even more challenging. Aero Legend's most historic aircraft is being prepared for an epic international flight.
The aircraft, I believe, has got 43 wounds that have been repaired over the years. They're repaired on the outside but left to show on the inside, and we quite enjoyed pointing them out to people that, you know, she actually took flak damage and battle damage.
Dragamute is a Douglas C-47 that flew Allied troops into Normandy on D-Day.
I would say this aircraft is probably 85–90% with its original everything that it left the factory with, you know. And it wears its scars well. It's like a van, a well-used van, a looked-after well-used van, but all the little nicks and dings and dongs.
But soon it's about to return to the scene of its finest hour. In 1944, it dropped paratroopers during the ill-fated Allied raid on Arnhem in the Netherlands. And now Keith and his crew are in training to do it again with the Army's Red Devils parachute display team. They're dropping into an airshow in Yorkshire. The Red Devils are used to jumping from modern aircraft designed for parachuting. In 1944, teenage members of the regiment did this on parachutes that were hard to steer, heavily laden with weapons and under fire.
I still get a buzz from that, especially jumping the aircraft like the Dakota.
Coming from the parachute regiment, obviously we have massive respect for it because that's what World War II the lads were jumping out of, so we have just massive respect for that aircraft.
It's the beginning of September, and Keith and the crew are ready to take off for the Netherlands.
Every year we go to Arnhem, we do the commemorative parachute drops. It's a big event, you know, the Dutch are very keen to commemorate it.
For Andrew, it's always an emotional experience.
Every year we have fewer and fewer of the veterans that were actually there, but it's, I think, vitally important that we keep the memory going.
Battery switch on.
Don't let the screaming and shouting going on outside. It's not on fire.
They're taking off in the slipstream of heroes.
And then when we get there, we'll be configuring the aeroplane for some parachute dropping. I think we've got 3 drops to do today.
80 years ago, this flight was a matter of life and death. This aircraft played a key role in Operation Market Garden as Allied troops tried to speed the advance on Hitler's Germany.
Every line must somewhere have an end. In southeast Holland, nothing lay between the British Army and the German plain except 2 rivers and a town. And so we made our plans to send an airborne army down to seize Eindhoven and the bridges at Nijmegen and Arnhem, then to hold them for the force that would sweep up like thunder from the south. Thus, where no line existed, would the Rhine at last be crossed in force.
This aircraft was there in 1944, so we're taking it back 80 years later.
For the boss, This flight back in time comes with a hefty price tag.
I've owned two now for nearly 10 years. We've lost two engines, you know, they're a six-figure sum just to replace the engine. Spares are available, but they're expensive, you know, a main wheel tyre, probably £4,000 each. You know, you have to go some to fit £4,000 of the tyres to your car, but that's for one tyre. And fuel. These aircraft use 100 US gallons an hour in normal flight. It's a lot of fuel.
90 minutes after leaving Essex, the C-47 is crossing the Dutch coast, en route to the flat farmland where the Allies suffered one of their biggest defeats.
We're here.
Tomorrow they drop their first parachutists on Dutch soil. It's a September morning in Holland. Military reenactors are gathering to pay tribute to the 1,500 Allied troops who died at Arnhem, one of the biggest disasters of the war.
It's almost like a dream come true for me. I've been jumping C-130s, C-17s, helicopters for my whole 22-year career in the United States Army. To go watch Band of Brothers and The Bridge Too Far, the C-47s that they actually used in World War II, the ability to give back, the ability to shake hands with others, the ability to come here in this country and to let them know that I'm thankful as much as they are thankful for me.
Today's jumpers are civilians, but they'll be harnessed to the same round canopies used in 1944. The dangers are the same.
If he's there, we go up on altitude, and then we cut him loose and he goes in his reserve. When he's not there anymore, then we go back to the airport and do a grass landing. And as soon, with full flaps out, and as soon he touches the ground, I cut him off. Okay?
Andrew has a lot of responsibility, but there are compensations.
So that you during the flights are not starving. Here, with chocolate.
The plan is now we've got 3 drops to do this afternoon. The first one will be a cold load, and then we're coming back to do 2 more hot loads, which will be with the engines running and get the guys on then to go.
In 1944, a paratrooper recorded his memory of a flight like this in an RAF Dakota, the British version of the C-47, for a newsreel.
I was to jump last at Arnhem, so I sat right forward by the window. I could see nothing but blue skies and Dakotas with the fighters up topside like midgets. One of the boys was reading a newspaper. He showed me a funny piece in it. I couldn't laugh. The coast of Holland came along before I was ready for it. Someone yelled, "Running up now." We got to action stations. I remember thinking, what a bloody bit of bad luck to be bumped off now when the war's nearly over.
For Keith, keeping memories of Arnhem alive is worth the risk and the cost.
It would be very easy to give up. There have been some times where you go, oh, another big expense, another problem, but the big challenges these days are insurance. Insurance costs are very high. Crew, the number of crew that are qualified and experienced to fly a multi-engine piston World War II aircraft is small. So we're trying to reverse that trend by bringing new pilots on, younger pilots. But generally everything's big hangars, big money, big everything, and that makes it quite difficult for your average owner, even if they're well versed in operating smaller aircraft, to get involved and run them.
For the Aero Legends crew, it's been a long day.
Okay, so we've done 3 drops locally today, and now we're going to put the aircraft to bed for the night, really. So it's basically we've put all the chocks in, we've put the control lock into the ailerons and things like that. Then we've got to check the oil in a minute, just put the engine covers on and give her a bit of a clean, and she's good for the night. If you want a job done properly, ask a pilot.
Day 2, and keeping the C-47 airworthy is a team effort. It will be the star of the Arnhem anniversary.
Every day's a school day.
Yeah. So today is the 80th anniversary of Operation Market Garden, September the 17th, 1944, when the Allied forces mounted an airborne operation to land some 35,000 paratroopers into the Netherlands. The Netherlands were occupied by the Nazis, and it all started today, 80 years ago today.
Today we're planning 3 drops at Erda, which is a little bit further north than we were yesterday, so the area where the 82nd and the 101st American Airborne Divisions were dropped on 17th of September 1944.
For co-pilot Darryl Taplin, dropping parachutists is a demanding job.
You've got to manage your speed, manage your height and manage your heading okay when they want to jump out at 90 knots so they don't collide with the tailplane when they jump out.
I cannot underline how poignant this is to be here. Out of all those many thousands of Allied aircraft that participated in Operation Market Garden, we are, to my knowledge, the only fully restored Allied aircraft here this week representing that vast air armada.
Many of the reenactors are wearing authentic uniforms and they know their history.
And the drop zone you're going to, was that 101 airborne or 82nd?
Yes, 101.
101,
okay. 502.
Yeah.
In the space of a few seconds, 20 parachutists weighing 3 tons will exit the aircraft in mid-air. They rely on a line tied to the plane to open their chutes.
Just to stop any of the static lines getting caught up on exit. Make sure there's no edges, nothing that can get caught when the chute's actually open and the static lines are going down the side of the aircraft, so just covering up the door hinges.
Hello. Just try turning this one on, back Darryl. We're just basically doing what they did in 44. The aircraft was obviously designed and equipped for dropping parachutists, which is why you've got the quick release door. So we're just preparing the aeroplane in exactly the same way as it would have been done 80 years ago.
But in 1944, the odds were heavily stacked against the air crews.
They had multiple threats. Obviously, the weather was one. The weather wasn't particularly good in September 1944, and they didn't have the modern navigational aids that we have.
Added to that, in 1944, pilots also had to haul a glider weighing in at 7 tons.
As you can see here, this is actually the original tow anchor point for a glider. 300-foot cable, get to a certain release point, the glider pilot would have released it, and the cable would have basically dragged on until they landed on the ground again.
Batteries run out. Back to the brush.
Now the drops are meticulously planned.
Yep. So you go from here over here, okay? Then we throw the streamer, and then we decide how much we offset to the right, okay? Yep. We do a reconnaissance first, streamer run, first stick, second stick, third stick, so 5 runs.
Parachutists have flown thousands of miles for this jump.
The nationalities today are quite a broad mix. We've got people from France, Belgium, Poland, obviously American, British, quite a selection. So it doesn't completely mirror image what the nationalities were in 1944, but it's a pretty good representation.
So we've got all our numbers. We'll leave it to the jump master to sort them out, so we'll just do our bit. Add a bit of glamour.
Andrew will spend most of today in the air.
Do you want to hurry away before we start?
I think we're
Pack of sugar, pack of sugar.
Now they're jumping into farmland. In 1944, the paratroops were under constant fire.
Arrived on time, the gliders were soon discharging their cargoes of fighting men, tanks, guns and supplies to reinforce the paratroops. An entire Allied army had swept down from the skies behind the enemy fighting line.
But the daring landing soon misfired. German resistance was much heavier than expected.
Soon casualty stations were established and the wounded received prompt attention. The airborne army had failed in their immediate objective, but they'd succeeded in drawing against themselves several German army divisions, thus enabling the Americans on another sector to force a crossing into Germany itself.
Everybody on board? Okay,
Despite the newsreels painting an upbeat picture, 6,000 Allied troops were captured at Arnhem, including the general leading the landings. In 1944, 1,500 transport aircraft dropped troops here. Today, only one is left flying. After 5 hours in the air, the C-47 has performed flawlessly.
Brilliant. Couldn't have gone any smoother. We topped the oils up, just gave her a bit of a clean, took the door off and taped everything up, and nice and simple today.
For the crew, it's time for some R&R at a famous landmark.
So this is the bridge. If anybody's seen the film A Bridge Too Far, this is the one where they're running to and it got blown up just before the US 101st Airborne got here. And it was the famous Easy Company from a band of brothers that were here. So we've just come to have a look and pay some respects, really, to the guys.
So this part here is the last photo of him taken. Quite emotional, actually, to be here for a change.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a special place. It's the first place I've managed to get to see something of where the guys fought and where the guys died.
Although the Arnhem landings went down in history as a heroic failure, there's little doubt today that they hastened the end of Hitler's Third Reich by enabling a crossing of the River Rhine.
This was a historic moment. Despite the Führer's solemn promises to the German people, the sacred soil of the Reich had been invaded by soldiers of an enemy nation.
And 8 decades later, the Dutch still celebrate their role in the operation.
Men of the Dutch Underground Army gave invaluable help to the Allies.
We celebrate together the anniversary of the liberation of Sonnenbreugel and honor all those soldiers and civilians who fought for our freedom.
The local population has never forgotten what happened here in 1944.
Like I said, we always see it from there. We just fly straight over there and we never get to see the ground that much or anything like that. So it's nice to actually see this side of the fence, you could say. So
nice of you to come out.
Absolutely, yeah.
Emotional. It's the first one of these services we've been to, and we're lucky enough to be here. And it's absolutely brilliant to see the way the Dutch are still remembering the guys that fought and died 80 years ago. This basically makes what we're doing worthwhile. When you're seeing the people remember, us just doing our parachute drops is just a small part of it. And it's not about the parachute drops, it's about the guys that were here 80 years ago.
Day 3 dawns and the team are due to drop more parachutists on the village where the Allied raiders made their last stand. But there's a problem.
The big thing today is going to be the weather, because obviously, as you can see, we've got about a 300-foot cloud base at the moment with poor visibility. And as Daryl's just quite rightly said, it's probably not going to clear up until about lunchtime, so hurry up and wait is the plan for the moment. Otherwise, as we normally would do, obviously, we've had a look at the route, decided where we're going to be going to drop, and the guys are getting the aeroplane ready to go.
Despite her age, the aircraft is still fault-free.
Yeah, another a gallon for the other side as well, mate. There's always cleaning and things to do around the aircraft and things like that, so, you know, we haven't had a chance to give her a proper clean since we arrived, really, so we'll probably just get on with that.
US Commander-in-Chief General Eisenhower once said the C-47 was one of the 4 pieces of equipment that won the war. They also helped deliver another, and it too is returning to Arnhem this week.
So obviously airborne jeeps are employed and are ideal for this role, for their capacity to get people to the bridge, which is approximately 7 miles away from the landing zones. So they needed the jeeps in order to get the soldiers there as quickly as possible. The jeeps had to be modified to get them into gliders, because they didn't quite fit through the Horsa glider door. Basically, it was making them thinner, so the tools came off the side. All the grab handles around the Jeeps came off, and actually one step on the right-hand side of the vehicle was removed. And obviously what we've got now is the drops going on.
Thankfully, the weather has improved.
So this is on the wall phaser drop zone. So LZ stands for landing zone, where gliders came in, and then DZ stands for the drop zone, where the power's actually dropped. So you can notice this is all flat land. The Germans weren't really expecting anything to be going on in this particular area, so these areas were earmarked and ideal landing zones.
To land by parachute or glider upon uncertain ground still under enemy control is an adventure calling for the utmost resolution and courage. They are brave men who tackle such a task. At Arnhem, the Allies landed in a sector which the Nazis had to hold at all costs. Bad weather made Allied reinforcements from the air almost impossible. For sleepless days and nights, the Allied troops held out against overwhelming odds before they were withdrawn.
The field would be just littered with gliders, the sky full of gliders, bedlam on the ground, trying to get those gliders, hundreds of them, on what would seem to appear to be a postage stamp when they were coming down into land.
These landing grounds became killing fields for Allied troops.
My father parachuted here into Wolf Haze, and he was one of the first ones to be shot. He landed and was soon ambushed. He was with the 1st Airborne Recce Squadron, and he was one of the first ones that were ambushed. He was quite a big bruiser of a chap, and he was shot in the stomach. To witness this today is the most emotional thing I think I have ever experienced in my life, because I was only 3 days old when my father was killed. I was born on the 14th of September 1944, and he was killed on the 17th, so I never knew my dad. It was only in years afterwards that I met some of his colleagues that told me what a remarkable man he was. And so I learned about him, but to actually be here today is the most wonderful thing I could ever have experienced.
For the C-47 crew, it's a well-earned day off. But in Arnhem, the 80th anniversary celebrations go on. Jaap Boonsjejem remembers the landings.
I lived somewhere between Arnhem and Oosterbeek. At that time I was 8 years old. It was September the 17th, 1944. And we heard some noise outside, and my father asked me to come up to our bedroom. And from outside the bedroom we had a good sight here to Oosterbeek. And that's the point where I exactly, at 17th September 1944, saw the paratroopers come down. At all. We weren't scared, we weren't happy. We just were wondering about what was going to happen. We don't know what was going to happen. We didn't know at all.
Allied planners were unaware that 2 German panzer divisions were based near the landing ground.
The Germans told us, ordered us to go out of Arnhem. So my father, mother and 5 children at that time, we had to go. We had to leave Arnhem, was evacuated.
They immediately turned the town into a free fire zone. The Dutch don't forget.
They are important for us because, well, the people in the world always say that never happen again. We don't want to have that. You can think that, wishful thinking that it never happens again, but as you look at in Ukraine, the same things are happening now.
The RAF alone lost nearly 400 aircrew over Arnhem. The men who gave their lives still lie here.
So we're at Arnhem Oosterbeek Cemetery. This was the post-war creation for many of those who died here in the Operation Market Garden, the battle at Arnhem. Today it contains almost 1,700 war graves. Many of those are men who fought and died here in September of 1944. Every headstone in this cemetery tells a story. The details of those who died are engraved in the stone, their names, their dates of death, their ages, the personal inscriptions by the family. We do know that there are a number of Dakota crews who are buried here at Arnhem Oosterbeek War Cemetery. Probably most famous of those Dakota crews is that was piloted and captained by Flight Lieutenant David Lord, who, following his brave and gallant conduct in 1944, was posthumously awarded the Victoria Cross. So David Lord was piloting a Dakota. On the 19th of September, he is tasked with an aerial resupply mission, flying in from the UK at around 1,500 feet. As they approach the dropping zones, they descend to around 900 feet, although some reports suggest even down to around 500 feet. As they're approaching those drop zones, the Dakota that Lord is flying is hit by flak and the starboard engine catches fire. Lord, though, continues to pilot his aircraft towards the drop zones. In fact, it's even suggested that he goes round a number of times in order to try and locate the right drop zones in order to complete that resupply mission. As a result of that, the aircraft starts to disintegrate, and despite dropping his supplies onto the drop zone, the aircraft crashes a short while later with only one member of the crew surviving.
In 2024, the Aero Legends crew are back in action.
Yeah, they'll be jumping over. Where are you guys jumping over today? Where's the drop zone today?
It's Heeswijk, Winter.
Today is our busiest day of parachute drops. We've got 7 drops to do. 5 are taking off from here in Eindhoven and 2 from Teuge in the north.
They've attracted some local volunteer helpers.
When you pull the rudder, just do it very gently because the pilots are still in the cockpit.
I've always been interested in planes, so I think being up close to especially the vintage planes, the old planes from World War II, I think is very interesting, and I think it's very important to keep them flying, and I think it's very good that I can be part of it. This is the first time for me, and it's a great opportunity to be close to the plane and learn more about the plane, and also to help spread the word what happened in World War II.
Modern aircraft just don't have what that has at all. You know, that personality and noise and style.
So I suggest we do the cockpit windscreen.
Yep.
Lovely job. Acrobatics. To clean the windshield,
yep,
one of the most expensive bug killers in the world, we need to open the emergency exit hatch here.
Mm-hmm.
So these two, like so. And then very gently in she comes. So this was obviously an emergency exit for the pilots.
Can't imagine climbing out there.
And this little door here was the other emergency exit, and they called it the hamburger door because when you open that door you are right next to the propeller blade.
Yep.
So nasty name, but you would have ended up being part of a hamburger potentially. Right, so stepping up to the seat, and up, and up. So that's your 2 feet.
The learning new things makes it very interesting, especially when it's such an old bird like this. Everything is different and new, so yeah, it's great to learn.
That's still really hot.
Well, you feel safe in here, but you've got a Coke can skin of aluminium between you and the outside world, and this was strafed by a 109 at Arnhem. You know, there are bullets coming from above, there are bullet holes down the side where the bullets just ricocheted off, and there are bullets that have come up through from ground fire. So when we took the rudder off this year for the annual inspection, looked at the rudder post, there were bullet holes, we discovered new ones. You know, my engineering team phoned me and said, oh, we've got a corrosion problem because I can see daylight. And when we cleaned off all the grime, there's actually more bullet holes.
That's lovely. Don't want to make it too easy for the pilots, Brenda.
Has to be authentic.
That's lovely.
All the dirt.
So, do you want to have a go at putting the roof panel back in?
Yeah.
The legacy of the C-47's wartime mission is plain to see.
Pretty much all down the whole right-hand side of the aircraft, she got completely damaged. 1 or 2 bullets on the left-hand side, but it's mostly on the starboard side we got damage. As you can see here, this is actually original.
Just as it was in 1944, loading the aircraft is critical.
There will be a lot of people coming off and a lot of people going back on. And we're allowed a maximum of 29 people total on the aircraft. So there's always our 3 crew, a pilot, co-pilots and the loadmaster. So we can have 26 more people on top of that. And sometimes the paratroopers have been known to miscount themselves.
There's no shortage of willing passengers.
To fly on a historic C-47, they call them Goonie birds or just Dakotas, is to touch history. We stand on the shoulders of giants. It's incredible what they did, how they did it, and we can never forget why we come here.
And people just love it, you know, the shape of them. It looks like a lovely dolphin-esque silhouette going across their land mammal.
You know, because we're using small drop zones and we're obviously very interested in getting all the guys in the right place, we do 2 or 3 runs over the actual drop site, but in 44 it'll be just 1 run in, everybody out, and then leg it for home as fast as possible. Paratroopers bouncing into each other certainly was a strong possibility.
OK, what's his hat?
A dwindling handful of men experienced those dangers for real.
He's an American 100-year-old aviation veteran, yeah.
But not all those who flew C-47s were heroic.
In D-Day, when they started getting shot at, a lot of the crews just turned the green lights on and dumped the people wherever they were, regardless of whether it was the right space or not. I think Arnhem was probably a little bit more controlled, but certainly you'd have had, you know, another 40, 50 aeroplanes around.
The C-47's giant radial engines use at least a gallon of oil an hour.
Go against the back and then down to the bottom of the tank, and the words main facing forwards here.
And it can burn 100 gallons of petrol per hour in the air.
Today actually is really special for me because I'm learning so many new things. I've seen the plane, of course, inside and outside, but this is really detailed work. So where is everything? How do you take care of a plane like this? So Simon is actually showing me everything there is to know about this plane technically. I'd say 121.
The crew can't even rely on the fuel gauges.
Agreed. So 121 in main. Yep, so 121 and 133.
Yes.
Excellent.
Tomorrow's big day because it's the major commemoration up at Ginkle Heath by Arnhem. So we're dropping both at the beginning of the commemoration, then the modern military assets are dropping, and then we're dropping again at the end.
To miss tomorrow's event would be a major embarrassment. After 4 days of intense flying, the C-47 has stood up well, despite its punishing schedule and its 80-year-old components.
And because of the way the wing is constructed, the wings come off every 6.5 years, go back on again, and every time you put them back on, they're very slightly different.
So far, they haven't missed a single drop. The whole team is trying to make sure it keeps up that record.
Today is a really poignant day because it's the official British commemorations up at Ginkle Heath, which was a massive drop zone for the 1st Airborne at Operation Market Garden. We're dropping a number of British paratroopers this morning and this afternoon over the Heath.
Looks like we've got some organic ordnance.
Most of today's jumpers are ex-soldiers themselves.
I like my Yorkshire tea. If you aren't serving it, I don't want it.
And today is a living history lesson for some.
In 1944, as they jumped, they may well have come under fire from the ground.
and there were forces on the edge of the drop zone shooting at them as they landed. So, you know, thousands of men were landing under fire and then having to go straight into battle.
Things didn't go as planned, as they rarely do with military operations. But I think the real key importance here is to remember those who made the ultimate sacrifice to ultimately gain the freedom of the people of the Netherlands and wider Europe. I was lucky enough to have served a few years with the 4th Battalion, the Parachute Regiment. I've read widely about the Operation Market Garden, and to be able to come over here, especially at my age now, and jump again from an aircraft of that vintage is hugely special, you know, and I hope that for the people on the ground, it helps them appreciate what things looked like back in the day.
Many are going through similar emotions to their forebears 80 years ago.
Yeah, exciting, a little bit of anticipation. First time we've dropped on this particular drop zone, or me personally. So I'm looking forward to it. The weather's good. I'm hoping everybody enjoys, you know, the display and everybody gets down safely. That's the main thing.
It's a great thing to see, actually, although all standing here. Some nervous, I think. You can tell.
Change your mind now.
That was what they did back 80 years ago. Hundreds of these been readied in the UK. Gliders, fighters providing cover. Yeah, big operation, but today we're the only one. This is, you know, the only C-47, the Arnhem area with parachuting capability today.
11, 12, 13.
Charles Papa, we've got information, Yankee 1020, telegraphing to the north, requesting start.
November 473 Delta Charlie, any question persons on board?
We have 2 now on board, 473 Delta Charlie.
Andrew must fit in with the 21st century flight schedule.
Don't give it too much pride. No.
Yeah, one of hundreds of aircraft that would have been setting off today, loaded with paratroopers and going off to the drop zones, yeah. Not quite knowing what they were going to or what they were going to find when they get there, yeah. Amazing. Real piece of history, a very special day today. Lucky to be here.
Many of these parachutists have paid £200 simply to cover the cost of a short flight in the C-47. But for some, the money is irrelevant.
Every time I see it take off, it's special because, you know, the sound, you know, you feel it vibrating in your chest. And every time I see it, it's like, wow, there it goes again.
Watching the aircraft take off is like time travel. You've seen it on documentaries, you've seen it on series like Band of Brothers, and now you're standing here watching them go up in the flesh. It's absolutely fascinating.
Ginkle Heath, today's final drop zone, saw landings by 2,000 paratroopers from the 1st British Airborne Division.
When they drop over Ginkle Heath in a couple of minutes, I mean, it's recreating history. It's getting that sense of what it was like back into the consciousness of the people who've never been there, who've never seen it. So it's very important to keep doing this because it's the only way that people will know of what it was like for a US paratrooper or a British paratrooper to jump over those fields 80 years ago.
On the ground, commemorations are drawing to an end. Soon Arnhem will disappear from living memory, but there's little chance that this epic battle will be forgotten.
Every house here has its story, and the persons who were raised here, who lived here, they have their stories. It's a really intense area. I think it's one of the most beautiful villages in the Netherlands.
Yeah, it is.
But it's also because I know what happened here.
World War II was a good acceleration of everything that man invents and uses. You know, we went into World War II with bolt-action rifles and biplanes, and we came out with nuclear bombs and jet aircraft. So combat parachuting really originated during World War II. The Allies and the Axis forces were both developing it, and it reached a crescendo, you know, in 44, I guess. We put 35,000 men into Arnhem in a few days. We fly Spitfires, but of all the crew that get involved with the C-47, they gravitate their affection towards the C-47, for sure, yeah. It's one of those designs that looks right, it's very versatile, and even today, what would you replace it with? You know, an aircraft with the lifting capacity it has that can operate on rough fields, short strips, and have the robustness that it has. There's very little around, so.
Most of the men who risked their lives here in 1944 are long dead, but owner Keith believes the C-47 will still be here for the centenary of this epic battle.
Just such a versatile machine. You know, it does it all, really.
Yeah.
So what does it mean to us to be involved with this? Well, a huge amount of pride. All of the team are interested in the history of aviation and World War II particularly. You know, it's one of those weeks that money can't buy. You know, we get to meet veterans, we get to meet local people who still remember the war. You know, we like to pay our respects. It's the one way of making sure the memories stay with us. If we weren't doing it, nobody would.
Yeah, okay. All good. I picked a rather spiky landing spot.